So hello guys, welcome to episode 8 of our Reviving Manor Racing series. Now, as you can see, it's the Red Bull Ring this weekend. It's the Austrian Grand Prix. We'll get to that in a little moment, but I just wanted to bring you up to date on the R&D, because if we have a look at the progress history, we have jumped above Alpine and Alfa Romeo in terms of the progress we've made. We've got some more in progress as well, so there's a lot coming onto the car. We are getting some decent resource points by completing the practice programs, so that just brings you up. We are now on the back of Haas, and then we can start looking at Williams, which hopefully should help us jump the standings. We're currently in P10 in the constructors, as you can see on the right hand side, but one decent result could jump us all the way up to P6. Driver standings, we know Max Verstappen is bossing it, 148 points, 35 points back is his teammate Sergio Perez, Charles Leclerc in P3. Not too much else to tell you about. We have got on the facility side, we are upgrading the build time on the chassis department as well, so that's coming through. The whole team is starting to improve a little bit along with the car. So I'm going to get to qualifying, and I'll see you at the strategy screen for the Austrian Grand Prix. So qualifying over for the sprint race, and we are in P7. We put in a stonking lap. I've actually knocked the difficulty up a little couple of levels this race weekend as well. But we're in P7, just in front of the Haas of Kevin Magnussen. Max Verstappen had an absolute shocker at the Red Bull Ring down in P10, but P7 from the sprint. Could we score points? Let's have a look.
Forget pit stops, forget fuel management. It's pedal to the metal all the way here as we get ready for today's sprint. Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks for today's sprint. What a qualifying yesterday for George Russell. He'll start today's race from pole position, and Lewis Hamilton completes the front row. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Perez, Leclerc, Fernando Alonso, Sainz, Lewis, Magnussen, Albon, Verstappen, Norris, Stroll, Bottas, Ocon, Gasly, Joe, Hulkenberg, Oscar Piastri, Tsunoda, De Vries, Ollie Caldwell, and Logan Sargent. And with preparations almost complete, let's head trackside for today's sprint.
Right guys, sprint weekend, P7. Now we're going to do something a little bit different. We've gone soft on the previous sprint races. I know we've had tyre wear upgrades, but I'm going to go for the medium compounder tyre. I feel very comfortable on that medium compounder tyre, and I reckon towards the end, we're going to lose positions anyway, but we will be quick towards the end. So that's the plan. Mediums, sprint race round Austria. Let's go. Right then guys, sprint race, here we go. We are in P7. We've got a nosebleed. We're so far up here. Lights are just about to go out, and we get a decentish start into turn 1. Can we keep it clean? That's what we're mainly looking for. Sainz comes across to cover us off. We take a wider line, go to turn in. We've stayed wide, but we get absolutely clobbered by Kevin Magnussen. There's nothing we can do here. He's still driving into us. Kevin Magnussen, we finally get away. We've got damage to our side pods, and from a promising position in P7, we are now all the way down in P21. That incident with Magnussen, absolutely shocking from him. We gave all the space we possibly could, and then he just continued to T-bone us. We're absolutely fuming in the cockpit at the moment on the team radio. Kevin Magnussen is getting called a few things. I'm not going to tell you any lies. We're well on the back of Logan Sargent now. Magnussen's further back, and we have got some damage to our side pod. Meanwhile, at the sharp end, we can see George Russell is leading from Lewis Hamilton. Leclerc's in P3. Perez P4, Verstappen is in P7, and then there's a big gap to Albon, 2.7 seconds already after lap 1. He did get held up, to be fair, in that lap 1 incident. Norris in P9, and Ocon in P10. But let's just have a little look at what happened there with Kevin Magnussen from his own. So Magnussen gets a decent start. We're on the outside line here looking at it. He's also got Max Verstappen on the inside, and Verstappen, to be fair, doesn't give him any room, and Max Verstappen possibly causes that. He'd nowhere to go. We felt we'd left the space. He'd no need to continue driving into us, but therefore, on second viewing, it might not have all been Magnussen's fault, but of course, we don't know that at this moment in time. And in the cockpit, or as we come onto lap 3, we are still absolutely fuming, but we are now on the back of Logan Sargent on that medium compounder tyre. And here we go. We get a decent exit out of turn 1, and we are alongside, and we've got Ollie Caldwell, our teammate, in front of us. It's going to be nearly 3 wide going up, but we decide to back out of this a little bit because there's going to be some issues in front, as we can see. The Alpha Tauri, Ollie Caldwell now gets spun round the Manor Racing cars, not having any luck at all here so far, and that has brought K-Mag right onto the back of us as well. But we can see in front of us, it's the three Sargent and Caldwell having a right battle. And Caldwell, to be fair, he's holding his own at this moment in time. It's side by side, Caldwell and De Vries. We're watching on board from our point of view. Caldwell's got the inside line. Has he made the overtake stick? He certainly has. We're now going to have a look down the inside of De Vries. We don't quite manage to get it done. And now we'll sit in, to be fair, behind Nick De Vries on lap 3. Coming on to lap 4, we've got a great run on Nick De Vries down into turn 1. Ollie Caldwell's there as well. We make a lunge up the inside. It's possibly not the fairest on our teammate, but we are driving with the red mist that has descended in that helmet. But Ollie Caldwell looks like he's going to come back for a look behind us. He goes to the inside. We're on the outside. We're leaving plenty of room, to be fair to Ollie Caldwell. And riding on board from our point of view, we get the better exit round the outside. But it's some good hard racing between the Manor Racing guys. You possibly say that we're a little bit unfair from us into turn 1, but we are just driving like a madman at this moment in time on lap 4. As we come into this middle sector, we've got 1.2 seconds gap to Sargent at this moment in time. It's really damage limitation now, and see what we can do in terms of the grid position on a Sunday. That's the big thing that we're looking at this moment. If we get caught up on the curb and we spin it on lap 4, we can see the yellow flags there from the marshals. We reverse out, and that is going to be our sprint race pretty much done. We've got nobody to blame but ourselves for that. And maybe driving a little bit too aggressively. 11 seconds now is the gap between ourselves and Kevin Magnussen. Meanwhile, the two Mercedes, talk about teammates going at it. It's Hamilton and Russell that are battling for the lead. That's letting Perez back in. We're riding on board with George Russell. Is he going to make a move? He isn't. He decides to sit in, and I imagine Toto Wolff, he's twitching a little bit in his chair, watching his two drivers go at it on lap 5. Max Verstappen, he's up to P6 now. He's driving very well. Decent recovery from him. Lando Norris P8, Albon P9, Bottas in P10, but Lando Norris on course to score a point so far in this sprint race. Final lap of the sprint. We've just been getting a bit of tyre information. That's really what we can see we're doing. We're still on lap 7. We're practically nearly half a lap down here, but we're just getting some tyre information. Meanwhile, at the sharp end, we can see Lewis Hamilton is now leading the Grand Prix from George Russell. 6 tenths is the gap between himself and his Mercedes teammate. Checo Perez in P3. Leclerc and Sainz are 2 Ferraris. Very consistent cars so far this year. Max Verstappen on the back of the Ferraris. Will he be able to make any moves into this final sector? He looks a little bit too far back, to be fair. Lando Norris in Fernando Alonso in P7, and then Lando Norris in P8. But it is going to be Lewis Hamilton who takes the win in the sprint here at the Red Bull Ring from Russell. Perez makes up the top 3. We are all the way back down in P22. What a shocking Saturday for us here in Austria. Full classification then for the sprint. Hamilton and Russell, these Mercedes are looking mighty quick this weekend. Perez in P3, Leclerc P4 and Sainz P5. Lando Norris gets a point for McLaren. As we look, all the way at the back is Manor Racing, 21st and 22nd. Magnussen, there's going to be a few words in the interviews after. I've yet to see the replay, so I can't comment. Obviously, we'll be having a look at that in real time on the highlights. But yeah, disappointing sprint weekend. Let's get to the grid for the Grand Prix and get to the strategies, because we need to redeem ourselves.
Welcome from the beautiful Styrian Mountains for another chapter in the story of the Austrian Grand Prix. Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks like for today's race. An immense lap from Lewis Hamilton yesterday puts him on pole position. And starting next to them is George Russell. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Perez, Leclerc, Sainz, Verstappen, Fernando Alonso, Norris, Albon, Ocon, Bottas, Gasly, Joe, Oscar Piastri, Tsunoda, Sargent, Hulkenberg, De Vries, Ollie Caldwell, Stroll, Magnussen and Lewis. Which of these talented drivers will come out on top today?
So Kevin Magnussen is next to us on the grid. Just bear that in mind. I'm going to make a bold prediction right now, people. And please let me know down in the comments if you think this is going to come off. I think we're going to score a point today. And that's my prediction for this race because I'm fired up. I'm ready for this. Magnussen's going to get beat off the line. I can assure you of that. We can't turn his head that far. But let's have a look at the race strategy because we're going for the alternate strategy. We are going to go on the mediums first and then swap onto the softs when we've got less fuel in the car. It's the first time we've done this, but I'm going to do something different. We've also taken a full set of grid penalties and engine penalties. So we're all the way at the back anyway, like we would have been. Let's get to 5 red lights because we're going to get a point here. Here we go then, full feature race. We're angry, we're ready, we want a point this afternoon and we're going to straight away ride on board with us. It's 5 red lights, away we go and we get a decent start. Magnussen comes across, we are down the inside here. We've got Nick De Vries in front of us. We dart to the inside to try and make a move and gain some positions early. We cut the curb a little bit, but we've managed to gain a couple of positions up into P18 straight away, and now we're looking at Logan Sargent. We know this is a very difficult corner, especially on turn 1. We are the cars. Constantino, we dive once again to the inside and we want to keep it clean as we go through here. We've got Yuki Tsunoda, our rival, on our outside. We give him plenty of space, and after the first few corners we're up into P16 and looking at Nico Hulkenberg. For obviously Magnussen, his teammate, did knock us off in the sprint race, and now we're on the back of Nico Hulkenberg. We've got 5-6 positions to reach before we get the points, but we're feeling good on this medium compound tyre so far. Meanwhile, at the sharp end, Lewis Hamilton is having a dominant weekend here in Austria so far. On that soft compound tyre, he's leading from George Russell. He's already pulled out over a second gap and broken the DRS of his teammate. Perez is in P3, Leclerc 4th, Sainz 5th, Verstappen in P6. Then comes Alonso, Norris, Albon and Esteban Ocon. We have got Nico Hulkenberg in the sides as we have a little moment coming out of turn 1, but we're doing our absolute utmost here to catch the cars in front. Lap 2. And just after that, we can see yellow flags in Sector 1. We're having a look at Nico Hulkenberg, but we have decided to slow down. Obviously, we can't overtake under yellow flags, and it's Lando Norris, whose engine's totally gone. He's going to pull over to the side here, very conveniently, but his engine just blew up in front of us there, Lando Norris. We lost a little bit of time. Of course, we've gained a position up into P15, and we're watching this battle in front of us between Gasly, Piastri and Hulkenberg. But on lap 2, up into P15 already, and looking particularly quick on this medium compound tyre as we take a wider line into that corner. I'm just trying to assess where we can make this move happen, but at the moment it's been good progress as we're pushing Hulkenberg through Sector 2. And at the start of lap 3 you can see turn 1, Piastri and Hulkenberg having a battle, and you can see that Manor Racing car springing to the inside and then moving into the middle. It's going to be 3 wide on the run up to turn 3. It's who breaks last. We decide to break last and we give them plenty of room. We run a little bit wide. We've got Oscar Piastri to us inside, but we managed to get Hulkenberg and we managed to get Piastri on the hard compounded tyre, remember, as well. So we reckon we've got the pace early doors. Next up is Pierre Gasly in the very much slow Alpine. Then we've got Zhou Guanyu and then Esteban Ocon. We fancy points, and after lap 3 making up 7 or 8 positions, we really fancy him. Lap 5, he joins us back on board and we have got Pierre Gasly in our sights. We've managed to catch up to him in P12, and what's really exciting is we can see Ocon, we can see P10 in front of us as well. So it's who's going to be last of the break. We're later on the brakes than Gasly again. We're starting to get some real confidence in this Manor Racing car as it is progressing, and the work that's been done back in that factory in Sheffield is allowing us to chase after these cars and improve our track position at times as well. We're looking really quick this weekend and I just love this track, I really do. It's one of my favourite tracks on the circuit. It's quick on the calendar, sorry. It's quick, it's fast flowing, and again we're now looking at the back of Guanyu Zhou and Esteban Ocon as we come on to lap 6. Lewis Hamilton is still leading, but George Russell, his teammate, is in the DRS. Checo Perez all the way back down in P3. Then comes Leclerc. Verstappen is up to P5, Sainz P6, Alonso 7th, Albon 8th, Bottas 9th, and Ocon is in P10, but he's got a charging Manor Racing car not too far behind. Coming on to lap 7, we have really closed the gap on Zhou and Ocon, and as we come out of that corner, their battling has allowed us to really start looking to make a move here. We've got DRS, we get covered in, we get boxed boxed off by Joe Ocon. It's going to be free wide again. Can we make another double overtake here? We're later on the brakes. We go around the outside. We give them all the space in the world. And ladies and gentlemen, that is 2 double overtakes from a Manor Racing car. I am absolutely buzzing, and we seem to have pace to burn on these medium compounder tyres. It's fantastic work from us. Could we catch Valtteri Bottas? Who knows? We're on the different strategy. Now's the time to pull out a little bit of a gap. Joe's on the same strategy as us, as is Ocon, but at the moment, with the way these tyres are feeling, we are feeling so comfortable, and we're going to try and stretch this out a couple of laps longer to give ourselves the best opportunity on the soft compounder tyre. As we see at the front, Russell and Hamilton very close together once again, but Hamilton just about covers him off. Lap 8. And on lap 11, we have caught up with Bottas and Albon. These two have been squabbling all afternoon so far, and because they're coming into the pits, we run a bit wide because we actually nearly ran into the back of Alexander Albon. But as they come into the pits, we jump them. And of course, we're on a different strategy. That puts us up into P8. We've got a few cars coming in. Verstappen, I believe, is in as well. He's coming for his pit stop. Guan Yu Zhou carries on as well, but Verstappen's going to come out onto the medium compounder tyre, is that? It is. So Verstappen's onto the mediums. We are right now up into P6. And like I said, we're going to be pitting around lap 15, lap 16 is the plan. But at the moment, it's still good pace on these medium compound tyres. And as we come on to lap 14, ladies and gentlemen, for the first time ever, we're going to be up into the top 3. What a lovely sight this is. Everybody else has pit apart from Carlos Sainz, who's still out. I'm guessing he's going to be coming in this next lap, but we're now up into P2, and like I said, pace still feels good on these tyres. We're expecting to stretch it another couple of laps, but at this moment in time, we can just see Lewis Hamilton. He's starting to catch us a little bit. When Hamilton catches us, I think that is when we will decide to box. But lap 14, we're into P2. And on lap 15, I know, but Carlos Sainz has pit. And ladies and gentlemen, Manor Racing are leading a racing lap of a Grand Prix. We've got to pit, I know we have, but still, what a sight it is. We can see Lewis Hamilton chasing us all the way in behind, but I reckon we're going to be coming in at this lap. Meanwhile, just to check further down on our teammate, he's running dead last once again. Driver negotiations, contract negotiations are open after this race. So Ollie Caldwell, what do you think? Let me know down in the comments. I'm going to have a little break from recording between these 2 episodes, so let me know down in the comments. Do we keep Ollie Caldwell or do we go for somebody different? And if it is somebody different, who should we go for? Like I said, we will be pitting this lap. And into the pits we come now. This is going to be very interesting to see where we do come out in terms of Zhou Guan Yu, because obviously he's pit a little bit earlier than us. As we come into the box, let's have a look. Is it a decent pit stop? It certainly is going to be. 2.4 second pit stop onto the soft compounder tyre. Now let's have a look where we come out here. We can see Albon and Bottas have gone past us. Remember, they pit just before we did. We're going to come out in P10, but we have got Esteban Ocon on some medium compound tyres, and we're straight away back into the action here. And we don't want to take any risks into this corner. It doesn't make sense for us to try and lunge it into this corner. We will get him, sure enough, with DRS, and then we can charge after these two in front. We've got the much better tyres now than these guys in front. So something to be aware of. We're not going to quite get him on this DRS zone, but possibly on the next, lap 16. And coming on to lap 17, we're still looking at the back of Esteban Ocon, but now we've got the DRS. We've chosen the opportune moment, and what we did was just relax, warm the tyres, get them into the working optimal temperature, and now we've got him into that. We've overtaken him, giving him plenty of room. Very respectful racing between us and Esti Beste, and now we're up into P10, and the charge is on. Now we're going to use the tyres. Now we're going to use this ERS and catch up to the 2 cars in front. Albon and Bottas are in the sights of this Manor Racing car. You join us on just coming on to lap 19 as we set the fastest lap of the Grand Prix. So 1:16.1 and a bit, but we've just set the fastest lap of the Grand Prix. We dive to the left of Alexander Albon all the way up the hill towards turn 3. We get on the brakes nice and early. We can see Albon does squeeze us out a little bit. We give him plenty of room around the outside and then get on the accelerator because Valtteri Bottas is next up. And remember, Alfa Romeo are battling with us in the constructors standings. This would be a huge bonus for us if we can take points off Alfa Romeo while also getting some more points for ourselves, because we're aiming for 7th in the Constructors if we possibly can. Meanwhile, at the front, I know you're bored of watching how good we're doing today, because let's be fair, it's not happened often, but Lewis Hamilton is in P1. Verstappen is back in the fight though at one of his own Grand Prix for the Red Bull Ring in Austria. He's now on the back of Lewis Hamilton, and George Russell's up there as well. It's a three-way fight for the win of this Grand Prix. We'll keep you up to date on this one with 5 laps to go, but we'll also keep you up to date on what's happening with us, because we are right on the back of Valtteri Bottas. Again, we get a decent exit out of turn 1. We're loving these tyres this afternoon. We just seem so much more comfortable on these tyre compounds. And again, we're looking left and right. Bottas goes to the left, but goes to the inside, sorry. We go to the outside. We try the switchback and we can't quite get it done as Bottas squeezes us to the inside. We go on the grass a little bit. It's taking a little bit out of his tyres, but we do manage to get the run on him on that softer compound. And again, into that corner, we take a nice line into there, get it on the brakes, and now it's time for us to pull away from Valtteri Bottas on lap 20. Ladies and gentlemen, we're up into P8 and we've got the fastest lap. Well, just coming on to lap 22, we can see we have broken the DRS of Valtteri Bottas, but at the other end, Max Verstappen, he's going hammer and tongs at it with Lewis Hamilton, and Max Verstappen has got the move done in to turn 3, and now Hamilton will get DRS, I believe. He will on Max Verstappen. Can Lewis Hamilton now re-overtake Max Verstappen? 3 laps to go here in Austria. It's been a cracking race so far. Coming on to lap 23, I think our race is done and dusted. We've broke the DRS. We're looking very comfortable in P8, but one man who's not looking very comfortable is Max Verstappen, who's just lost first position to Lewis Hamilton, and he's got George Russell with DRS charging up behind him. George Russell goes to the outside. Max tries to cover off the inside. Let's have a look what happens here into turn 3. Is there any bumps? Lewis Hamilton loving his teammate and George Russell fighting away behind him, and Lewis Hamilton has got 1.2 seconds now on Verstappen, but it is Russell actually who's taken P2 on lap 23. So Hamilton, Russell, then Verstappen. Who's going to win this one? Final lap of the Grand Prix. It's Lewis Hamilton who leads from Russell, from Max Verstappen. Who is going to win this one? Our job is done. 4.7 seconds is the gap to Alexander Albon. We are going to score good points for Manor Racing today, but let's keep an eye on this battle at the front, because will either of the cars behind Lewis Hamilton manage to make a move? Verstappen's tyres look spent. He's too far back. It's going to be Russell versus Hamilton. Hamilton goes defensive. We'll ride on board with George Russell for the rest of this lap. Can he make a move on Lewis Hamilton as we come into this middle sector? This overtake's happening though, because we see Leclerc and Sainz battling away as Charles Leclerc overtakes Carlos Sainz. Perez is in this battle as well. Hamilton looks like he's done enough as he's coming around the final few corners. It's great work once again from Lewis Hamilton as he rounds the final couple of corners. Lewis Hamilton is going to win in Austria. George Russell P2, Verstappen in P3. Then we can see Leclerc, Sainz, Perez in P6, Alonso in P7. But ladies and gentlemen, let's ride on board with us, because my word, we are going to score 5 points this weekend. What a performance. I'm absolutely buzzing as we cross the line. We've got points. We've got points. Unbelievable scenes. We are so proud of that performance. That feels like a win, ladies and gentlemen. It really does from inside this cockpit. Let's get to the podium scenes, but I tell you what, on that team radio, from the despair of Saturday to now, what a performance.
Spectacular Grand Prix here in Austria, and a truly magnificent drive to hang on and take the win. Anthony Davidson, how do you think they were able to set themselves apart today?
I really feel the track layout combined with the track temperatures we saw today suited their car. These cars come alive when the tyres are just at the right temperature, and the driver did a great job managing that as well. They just look so comfortable out there. It's like anything, it always looks so easy when it all just clicks.
After an excellent performance at the Grand Prix, I'm sure there'll be plenty of celebrations tonight amongst the Mercedes team, and they deserve it.
Mercedes looking very quick. Once again, Max Verstappen applauding Lewis Hamilton there as Lewis Hamilton takes the win here in Austria. But my God, do we care? Because Manor Racing have scored more points and we've actually took points off Alfa Romeo as well. So a massive, massive weekend for us. We can see the champagne flowing. We've got a few beers in the garage, I can assure you of that. Let's have a look at the full classifieds. Lewis Hamilton winning there now, as we saw George Russell P2, Verstappen P3, Leclerc in P4, Sainz, Perez, Alonso, and then it's us in P8. We get 5 points from this race because, believe it or not, when we switched onto soft compound tyres, as mentioned in the race overview, we got the fastest lap in a Manor Racing car. Tell you what, they make them fast in Sheffield. Valtteri Bottas got P9 in the end from Alexander Albon, as we saw, getting them extra points for Alfa Romeo. Alexander Albon in P10, both Alpines just out of the points. Kevin Magnussen, we've had his bumps and scrapes win this weekend, he's down in P15. Ollie Caldwell, bless him, last again, and by what, just over half a second last from Nick De Vries. Lando Norris was the only DNF of the race. Standings wise, we have a look at the driver's standings. Max Verstappen still extends his gap from Checo Perez to 39 points. Lewis Hamilton, though, 123 points. Is he back in this title fight? Charles Leclerc, consistently consistent in P4 in the Ferrari, 118 points, and George Russell on 108. We are now level with Alexander Albon on 10 points for Manor Racing. Ollie Caldwell is yet to score. Constructor standings wise, this is the big one. Red Bull, 62 point gap from Mercedes. Mercedes look pretty comfortable in P2, but Ferrari are chasing them. But we are up into P8. We overtake Haas, we overtake Alfa Romeo, and we are level on points with Williams. Could we possibly snatch P6 with the rate our developments going? I would think so. I hope you've enjoyed that one. We had 3 wide overtakes. We had absolutely everything. And by the way, did you believe me when I said I was going to get some points today? And I bloody well did. I'll see you on the next one. Ta-ra.